Most bands chase hooks and hits, but Scandinavian prog bands, well, they build musical worlds. And once you step inside, you may never come back. Now, there's something quietly persuasive about the way Scandinavia progressive rock operates. Now, while the UK and North America have long dominated the rock canon, Scandinavia, often overlooked, has slowly created a distinct branch of progressive music that feels less concerned with impressing and more focused on capturing something that really feels personal, even strange. Let's take a look at a further 10 bands and artists that show how Scandinavian prog draws you in, and why you'll likely stick around once you hear it. First up, we've got Agnes Obel from Denmark, and the album for to hear from Citizen of Glass from 2016. Top track, Familiar. Now, Agnes Obel might seem an odd starting point in a conversation about progressive rock, but her music shares something essential with the genre: the space, structure, and a deep interest in mood. A Citizen of Glass is really quite a strange minimal album built around processed pianos, eerie strings, and layered vocals. The highlighted track Familiar feels like chamber pop haunted by ghosts. It's introspective, deliberately slow, and rewards patience. Now, her approach is really quite subtle, but it sticks. She's one of the few modern artists who can make stillness feel dramatic. Band number 2 is called Midnight Sun, and they are from Denmark. The album to really hear is Walking Circles from 1972, and the top track is At La Turca. Now, Midnight Sun were one of Denmark's first bands to tinker with jazz rock and prog in a way that felt both raw and ambitious. Now, their sound is a definite 70s stamp. Imagine early Chicago or Colosseum with more Hammond organ and less polish. Now, At La Turca takes Mozart's familiar melody and pushes it through a rock band setup with real energy. Walking Circles is a great record. It's full of ideas and represents a time when Scandinavian rock was still figuring out its voice, quite loudly. Band number 3 is Aurora from Norway. To hear is All My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend from 2016, and the top track is Conquer It. Now, Aurora might sit closer to alternative pop, but there's a thread in her work, particularly on a debut album, and this leans towards art rock territory. Conqueror rides a shifting rhythm and off-kilter melody, showing a skill in arranging songs that build tension in unexpected ways. Her vocal phrasing can be oddly theatrical, which fits really into prog's broader definition. She writes like she's scoring scenes in her head, and while she's radio-friendly, her music walks right up to the line where pop ends and progressive ideas begin. Band number 4, Moon Safari from Sweden. The album to hear here is Blomjud from 2008, and the top track is Other Half of the Sky. Moon Safari are one of the most joyous prog bands to emerge in the past 20 years. Their vocal harmony is clearly influenced by Yes and the Beach Boys, are borderline ridiculous in how polished they really are. Other Half of the Sky is a 30-minute epic that manages to be both ambitious and emotionally warm. Blomjud is full of soaring melodies, piano-led breaks, and guitar parts that feel purposeful, not indulgent. It's a great entry point for anyone nervous about long-form prog. Band number 5, Titanic. These come from Norway. The album to hear is the 1971 Sea Wolf, and the top track is Macumba. Now, Titanic never quite got the attention of their British contemporaries, but Seawolf remains a gem. The band played hard rock with progressive twists, flute solos, shifting tempos, and Latin-tinged percussion. Macumba is pure flair. It's rhythmic, heavy, and a little unhinged. You can hear them pushing at the edges of Deep Purple territory, whilst adding a slightly psychedelic flair. It's not refined, but it's energetic and unpredictable, which is really what makes it worth hearing. Band 6 is the Chronicles of Father Robin from Norway. The album to hear is The Songs and Tales of Araya, Book 1, 2023, and the top track is Elysian Forest. Now, this band is relatively new, but taps into the older spirit of concept-driven prog. Their debut is sprawling and clearly influenced by classic 70s acts like Gentle Giant and Jethro Tull. Elysian Forest is playful, layered and theatrical without feeling forced. There's a strong sense of narrative here, but they avoid being overly self-serious. It's music that winks as much as it broods, which is quite a rare genre known for taking itself too seriously. My master, my creator. Band number 7 is Ritual from Sweden. We're looking at Hemulik Voluntary Band from 2007, and the top track is A Dangerous Journey. She and her cat to sit down on the lawn. The Ritual take influence from Nordic folklore, children's books and mythology, but don't mistake them for a novelty. Their music is detailed, it's acoustic heavy and clever. A Dangerous Journey takes lyrical cues from the Moomins whilst building a progressive structure that shifts tempos multiple times without ever really losing clarity. It's thoughtful music that doesn't pander, and while their following is small, it's deeply loyal. Band 8. From Sweden we have Beardfish, and the album to hear here is Sleeping in the Traffic Part 2 from 2008, and the top track is And the Stone Said, If I Could Speak. Now, Beardfish were one of the smartest prog bands of the 2000s. They blended humour, melancholy and odd rhythms with melodies that linger. And The Stone Said is a 15-minute piece that goes through jazz sections, heavy rock and gentle acoustic parts without really losing thread. Frontman Rickard Sjöbaum's voice is expressive without overdoing it, and the production is tight. Now, they did split in 2016, but their catalogue remains strong, especially this album, which feels like their most confident work. Band 9 is Art Mary from Norway. The album to hear here is Janus from 1973, and the top track is called Mr. K. Mr. K premieres today. Art Mary were an early Norwegian answer to King Crimson. Janus shows them at their most ambitious, mixing orchestrated parts with heavy guitar riffs and long instrumental breaks. Mr. K is an odd track. It's walking the line between blues rock and progressive experimentation. It's raw in places, it's occasionally uneven, but it's packed with personality. The album feels like a band reaching beyond their grasps, which is often where the best prog lives. Number 10 is quite a well-known band, Opeth from Sweden. The album here to hear is Watershed from 2008, and the top track is Burden. Now, Opeth are likely the most internationally known band on this list, as I've said. Now, once known for death metal, they evolved into a progressive rock band without fully losing their edge. Watershed sits at the midpoint between both eras. Burden is a standout, dark, delicate and beautifully arranged. Mikael Åkerfeldt's guitar tone is rich without being showy, and the track's quiet sections literally speak just as loud as the heavier ones. This is prog with real weight, not just technically but emotionally. So what actually makes Scandinavian prog so addictive? Well, it's not a single sound, it's not a trend or a shared aesthetic. It's the way these artists approach the form, not as a throwback, not as a showcase for skill, but as a way of organising ideas and feelings without rushing to conclusions. Now, there's often more patience here and more trust in the listener. You don't get the sense that these musicians are chasing anything. That lack of obvious ambition is oddly freeing. Yes, some bands lean hard into nostalgia, others push into more experimental territory. That is true. There's an understanding that a song doesn't need to win you over immediately. It just needs to be honest about its shape and then follow through. Now, that slow confidence, that refusal to compromise for the sake of accessibility might be the thing that makes this music so hard to walk away from once you've heard it. And maybe that's the most addictive quality of all. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button for me if you will. Now, I shot a video on the prominent Norwegian band Prog here, and I was explaining the band's history, and that video is the one that you should watch next. I'll see you over there.